Hey, I'm Matt Fouch, the host of On the Couch with Fouch. Just want to take a quick minute and say thank you so much for joining me for this interview. You could be doing so many things online, but you've chose to spend a few minutes with us, so thank you so much. If you're watching on Facebook, please hit the like button. Comment, share if you'd like. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications. Or, if nothing else, go to onthecouchwithfouch.com and sign up for the email list so that you don't miss any of the interviews that we release in the future. Now, with nothing else to do and all of that out of the way, here is the feature interview. Thank you for watching. This is On the Couch with Fouch. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I have Jimmy Fortune with me today. Man, thank you so much for coming over for this.
Matt, I'm honored to be here. I really am. This is a great facility y'all have here. I've just been thoroughly enjoying it, being here today.
Man.
Really.
And I appreciate you taking time out. I know that we all have a busy life when we're home. And things kind of, you know how it is, they kind of pile up on you while you're gone, and you get home and get your to-do list done. So I appreciate you taking time out and joining me.
Well, absolutely. We, this is what it's all about. I mean, we do what we do on the road. We're out there trying to make a living. We're doing what we're doing. But, having things like this to communicate to the people what's going on in our lives, people like you helping us out, it means a lot. It really does. It's you're kind of the life's blood to those people that want to hear whatever we have to say. Now, not necessarily what we're doing in concert, but this is kind of a little bit of a different thing here. But I'm honored to get to do it with you.
Well, right off the bat, man, why don't you tell these folks a little bit about Jimmy Fortune, man?
Well, I'm actually writing a book. I'm about 4 years into a book now that I don't know when I'm going to finish it, to be honest with you. But it's kind of my life story, and it goes back to not first, when we started writing, we thought it would be about the Statler Brothers, kind of beginning. I was 26 when I joined the Statler Brothers in 1982, and telling you how old I am.
I was about to say, that was the year I was born.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
Not to make you
really feel good right now, buddy.
Feel good moment of the interview, right?
But it goes back to on back to when my mother was born. It is where our story kind of begins, because my mother's mother died when she was 2 weeks old of blood poison, actually. And there was this lady that came from, of all places, Nashville, Tennessee. She was coming up there named Miss Grills to teach school. And some guy on horseback stopped to talk to her while she was going there. And Miss Grills and told her that, my mother's mother had passed away. My grandfather was trying to raise my mother and two other siblings and just really struggling. And God spoke to her that moment and said, go to that house and help that man raise those children. She did. She still taught school some, but she went to that house. She said, God sent me here to raise these kids for you.
Wow.
And help you raise them. So my grandfather moved out of the house into a smokehouse, and she moved in. And she taught my mom about the Bible. She taught my mom about how important praying was, and just really, she could quote the Bible anywhere, anytime, and tell you, stories, and that's the way she taught my mom, and she made my mom a prayer warrior. And through that, starting with teaching my mom all that, and how important prayer was, she changed the course of our family's lives, because my mother passed away back in 2000, and my mother's prayers are still being answered right today. I can see there was 9 of us kids. I'm number 7 of 9 children. My motto is, my daddy's is, he went broke making fortunes, and pretty much did. But 9 kids. But those prayers, like I said, I still feel them today. And the thing with the Statler Brothers was a big God thing in my life, because as I got a little older in my teenage years and stuff, and like a lot of people do, I just kind of went the way of the world. And even though I believed, I was still out there, doing things I shouldn't have done. But still, like I said, my mother's prayers kind of guided me in ways that I had no idea till eventually I was playing music 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, and I had a daytime job working at a car dealership in Charlottesville, Virginia, as a service writer. When it was the night before Thanksgiving, 1981, I actually had a night off. Some friends of mine were jamming at a place called Wintergreen, Virginia. Asked me to come up there, of all things, on my night off, go play music, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But so I go up there, and Lou DeWitt of the Statler Brothers is there. Lou DeWitt, who sang tenor for the Statler Brothers, who wrote Flowers on the Wall and many other hits for the Statlers. And I was a big fan of his. I was a big fan of the Statler Brothers. I met him that night, got to talk to him, and sang with him some. We picked together, and I thought, well, after that, I'd probably never see him again. And I remember after that night, I went. It was really great to meet him. The next morning, I'm going to my mom's for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm like one of the first ones there because I'd been out there working hard, and I was pretty sick, and I was kind of anemic at the time. And I came through the door on Thanksgiving morning, and my mom says, "Jimmy, I'm really worried about you. You look terrible. You just look awful. Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, no, I've been feeling well and everything." And but it was just her and I sitting at the table, and I told her, I said, I don't know why I was trying to make her feel better about things, I guess. And I said, I feel like something good's going to happen to me, Mom. I don't know what it is. And she said, I feel that for you too, Jimmy. And she walked over and put her hands on my shoulders and started saying, "It's no secret what God can do," on my shoulders. And we had that moment there together, and I'll never forget that moment. It was a powerful moment in my life. I felt God, and I felt my mom, and all that stuff just coming together. And so a couple weeks later, that's when I get the call from the Statler Brothers to come over and audition. Lou was going to suffer from Crohn's disease. I didn't know it at the time. And so he was going to have to be out for about 6 months for his surgery. And they asked him, they said, "Well, is anybody you could get to fill?" Harold, Phil, and Don asked him if there's anybody who could fill in for him. He said, "Well, I heard a kid from on the other side of the mountain over near Charlottesville." He said, "His name's Jimmy Fouch, and he could probably do it if y'all give him a chance, maybe." And I was literally the first name out of the mountain. Now, you figure all these years he's been out there doing what he's doing.
Right.
He hears me a couple weeks before that, throws my name in the pot.
What are the chances?
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a God thing.
Absolutely.
And so they called me to come over and audition. And it took a little while. I mean, I went over there like right after Christmas and talked to him, sang around the piano. I think the first song we sang was Amazing Grace around the piano at Harold's house. And I thought right then, I said, man, even if nothing happens, I sang around the piano with the Statler Brothers. I get something to tell my children, my grandchildren one day. And I remember going home thinking, man, this is pretty cool, And so I was happy. I mean, deep down I was thinking, well, I hope this comes through. It'd be a good thing for me, a good break, for me and my career and stuff like that, and what I was trying to do. And so I had no idea. They called me back a couple weeks later, wanted me to go to Nashville to record just to see what it sounded like. And I thought, man, that's pretty good. I get to do that.
Close to big time. Yeah, here we go.
So anyway, they called up and said, if could I fly to Nashville? And I never had flown, and I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. They said, "Can you be at this certain airport?" It was in Waynesboro, Virginia. That's what Marshall Grant was their manager at the time. He called me up. He said, "Can you be at Waynesboro airport to get on a plane in the morning at like 7:30?" So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get there like 45 minutes early." I said, "Yeah, I can do that." I knew where it was, So I show up at that airport the next morning, and there's nobody there. I mean, there's nothing going on. It was a small airport. I saw this light on at this house. I ran over there. I said, "This plane's flying in and out of here." She said, "You must be talking about Weir's Cave Airport. That's another 45 minutes down the road." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not, And I jumped in the car. I knew where that airport was. So I went down to that airport. I mean, I think I just about blew my car up getting there. And when I got there, the plane was running, getting ready to go take off on the, and the guy, I forget. I don't know who he was, but he had his tickets in his hand. Back then, you could just get the ticket, go right in, and get on a plane. Right? Wouldn't happen today.
No.
So I just go right out there, and they got right on the plane. It was the day after the Air Florida, which you don't remember, so many people got killed. Washington, D.C., taken off from Washington, D.C., in an Air Florida flight, landed in Potomac, crashed, killed just about everybody on board. It was the day after that.
Wow.
And
here you go.
So here I go. I'm on the plane, fly to Pittsburgh on this little polo jumper. Fly to Pittsburgh, and when I get to Pittsburgh, it's snowing like crazy. And we get on the airplane to fly from Pittsburgh to Nashville, and this guy's sitting next to me, and I'm kind of, fidgeting, and kind of humming some songs and stuff, and this guy says, "Excuse me," he said, "I'm so nervous I can't hardly move." He said, "And you're just here singing and everything and acting like you're so happy and everything. What in the world?" He said, "It's going on with you, And I said, "Well, look," I said, "You know who the Statler Brothers are?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm going to Nashville to audition for the Statler Brothers and to sing tenor." He said, "You're kidding." He said, "They're like one of my favorite groups." I said, "Yeah, that's what I'm going for." They were actually pushing snow off the wings of this airplane at that time. I mean, pushing it off. And so this guy stands up and he's like, "We got to get this plane off the ground. This boy's going to Nashville to audition for the Statler Brothers." Everybody like, "Yeah, man, let's go." Kind of broke the tension,
Yeah.
And so we flew to Nashville, and I remember they picked me up at the airport, and it was their bus driver and the bass player, which happened to know me at the time, Billy James. They picked me up at the airport and drove me. I saw Nashville for the first time driving over there. I was like, I'd never seen a city that big before. It was pretty cool. And they drove me right up to it was called Young and Sound. It was a recording studio here in Nashville. Drove me right up. There was a door. I remember there's a wall. There's a big door right there. And you walk up these steps. You go through the door. When I walk through the door, there's a microphone there. And you stand there, and like everybody, the band, and everybody's in that room, and everybody's kind of looking at you. And you stand up to the microphone, and that's what you do. You walk through the door, stand there, and you sing.
What was the song? The first one?
Oh, it was.
You remember?
It was "Flowers on the Wall." It was. I remember Class of '57, and then "How Great Thou Art," and so
And that's an audition right there.
yeah, and so I sang, and I think I was the last one. I was the last audition they had. I think they had 25 or 26 that day.
Man.
I was the last one that day, and and then they didn't say anything right at that moment, But I'm like, man, it's pretty cool. I got to fly down here, and they said, "Well, you can fly back. We'll fly you back if you want, but we're driving back. You can ride with us if you want to." I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll ride back on. I've never ridden on a tour bus before, so it'd be kind of cool too, And so while we were riding on the bus back, they said, I told them about two cousins that I had up in Virginia that were really, really good, really great singers. I said, if you didn't like me, I said, I guarantee you, these two guys, they're better than I am, so you'll love them. I guarantee you. And they said, no, we want to give you a chance. We want you to do it. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. Really, I was just like, it was one of the best days of my life. I don't know how else to explain it. But so it was going to be a temporary thing. I was going to be there for 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was going to be Lou was going to have surgery from his Crohn's disease, and he was going to have time to kind of heal up, and then he could come back. And so they asked me if I would stay, and even after he came back for a while, just to kind of make sure that he was okay. Wouldn't have to have any other time. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And meanwhile, I had a couple of other offers, like what was I going to do after the Statler Brothers were finished with me and all this stuff. A couple of record labels were talking to me, and I said, well, we'll see what they're going to want. They gave me this break, so I need to make sure they're okay, make sure they're taken care of. And so anyway, July rolls around. Lou comes back for about a week starts to rehearse with the band, and I was playing in the band, and he sang some, and I remember it's like the very first rehearsal we had, and then he called me aside, just him and I, and he said, look, he said, I don't think I can do this on the road anymore. And he said, you've done a really great job up to this point. He said, they love you. He said, I love you. People love you. Well, would you like to just become a member of the Statler Brothers and continue on? And I was like, well, I was kind of floored, really. I said, are you sure that's what you want to do? Because I said, man, I never wanted to come in and take anybody's place. And he said, you're not taking my place. He said, you're just making a place for yourself. And so with that, I said, well, thank you for the opportunity. And
that's so gracious.
Yeah.
The way he worded that.
Yeah. So, and I kind of used that too. I said, I'm not coming to take Lou's place. I'm here to make a place for myself. And then I became a full-time member in July of 1982. And then kind of the rest is, it kind of wrote itself. A big God thing in my life that I really can't explain. I needed something at the time because there's no telling, as hard as I was living my life and where I was going, I don't know how long I would have made it like I was going. Yeah. And I think this, I needed the Statler Brothers and they needed me at the time. So that's kind of how it all worked. And I had never written a song before because I was playing clubs and I was doing cover music. We were doing all kinds of music. You did everything from rock and roll to disco to bluegrass to country to gospel to everything. You just did it all, while you're out in those clubs, And so I just think that kind of got me all ready for what was ahead. And I never had written a song, so I went to the guys and I said, Harold, Phil, and Don, I said, if I write a song, would y'all record it? And, Harold of the group, he's the bass singer. He said, well, little buddy, yeah, we'll record one of your songs if it's good enough. And sounds like Darth Vader when he talks, shakes the ground literally. And it kind of scared me really, but I was like, well,
I know guys like that.
Yeah. It's just an honest answer, And I remember we were I had this melody already in my head. I knew this melody that was really a great harmony melody. I thought it was a beautiful melody where you could lend itself to great harmonies and stuff. So we were on our way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were going to Tulsa and then Oklahoma City to do some concerts. And on the way there, I go into a grocery store to get some things to put on the bus. You know how you do when you get on a tour. So I was going to get some snacks and things to put on there. And I was going through the Kroger up in Stanton, Virginia. And there was this lady in there that had a little girl in a shopping cart. And the little girl was just reaching out and grabbing stuff, pulling it off the shelves. Her name was Elizabeth. She said, now, Elizabeth, stop that, And I'm going through. I can hear her yelling that little girl's name all through the store. And I just had to laugh because I just thought it was so funny. The little girl was so cute, pulling that stuff off the shelves and getting into stuff. And so on the way to the bus, I go to the bus. We're on our way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They pull out the movie Giant with Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, James Dean. And they asked me had I ever seen it. And I said no. Because they're real big movie buffs, They love the movies. And they could tell you who all's in it and what their names were, what their middle names were, what their real names were, when they were born. They could tell you everything about everybody in all those films. It was pretty interesting. So I was getting an education on a lot of levels. But Elizabeth Taylor was just beautiful in that movie. I don't know if you ever saw it or not, but she's part of it was filmed in Virginia, which kind of got my attention as well. Then part of it's filmed in Texas, and so I knew where the part of it was filmed in Virginia because I'd been there a lot. I've been through that area a lot, and so I just fell in love with her in that movie. She's just such a beautiful woman, and we go to Oklahoma, first concert. I'm singing on stage, and this girl comes up out of the audience. She's just absolutely beautiful. I see her eyes. She's looking up at me, and she's telling me, wanting to shake my hand. She grabs my hand, and I'm leaning way over like this, and then she's grabbed my hand. She wouldn't let go of my hand. I'm like, I got to get back and sing, And she said, but I'm Elizabeth. And And I'm like, man, this name just keeps coming up. And I'm like, so I go back to, I had that melody in my head, go back to the hotel room that night. I had 2 tape recorders. I had those little Walkman tape recorders, little cassettes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I recorded the melody into one with the words. Then I ran that one, sang a part into another one, kind of back and forth and stacked the parts in these recorders.
I bet that was time consuming back then.
Well, it was kind of, but I went into the bathroom where it had this great reverb. I created my own reverb.
Gotta get the sound just right.
And some in the bathroom, and it sounded great in there, man. I'm singing, it sounded just like I wanted it to sound, you know. And so the next morning, I go out and I said, guys, I wrote this song last night, and I hit the play on the thing, and they sat and listened to it, and they looked at me and said, you know what, we love it. We're going to record that. And they did. They recorded it, and it became a #1 record in 1984. Went #1.
Wow.
It was actually around my birthday, like March 11th was my birthday.
What a birthday present.
Yeah, and went #1. And then I won Songwriter of the Year for that song, and it became Song of the Year in country music.
Wow.
You know, that's, how do you explain that? That's
right.
God, you know. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, totally. It's the only way you know how to explain something like that.
Well, and the Statler Brothers awards, you know, all kinds of awards. Mm-hmm. And I was looking the other day, Country Music Hall of Fame,
mm-hmm.
Gospel Music Hall of Fame. I mean, what all did y'all accumulate over the years for stuff like that?
Well, we had a museum years ago. They bought the school that they went to as kids in Stanton, Virginia. And we had our offices in there, which were really nice offices. And then we had a kind of a classroom set up as a museum of all the things that we had accumulated from fans and everything, and through the years. And it just filled that whole place up. And then we had place for the awards, and the Statler Brothers were and still are the most awarded act in the history of country music, and
wow.
Which was
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but you got to figure they started in 1955 when I was born, and Don wasn't there yet, and Don didn't come along until about 1962, somewhere around there, I think, maybe 62, 63. It was before they did Flowers on the Wall, when that's when the first really big hit they had. And once he came into the group, I mean, it was his big, beautiful voice. I mean, he just got that big old voice, and him and Harold carry that, you know, the foundation of that group. Then Lou and Phil, with Phil's baritone voice and his ear, he had incredible ear for harmonies and everything. And then Lou and Phil worked so well together as that tandem on the top. Was the magic of that group getting started, I think. And so it was just, and then of course, you know, they only had trouble until Lou got sick. Like I said, in 1982, he was sick before that, many years before that, but he was on the road trying to make it all work. And you know, it's hard enough to be on the road when you're feeling good.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine having Crohn's disease trying to be on the road and sing. I mean, it would be a tough thing. I really felt for him with what he had to go through, you know. And he had a few good years after I came in, and he had a few good years. There were times when I actually had to go into the hospital when he was in the hospital after I had joined the Statler Brothers, and he was in the hospital, and I would have to go in and talk to him to try to get him to go through the surgery it was going to take to get him to, and he just, there was times he just wanted to give up, you know. He just went through so much. And I think with Crohn's disease, I don't think there's nothing you can kind of treat it, but to have surgery is kind of a mistake. He had some surgery years ago before they knew that you probably shouldn't mess with it. Mm-hmm. You should probably treat it, but you can't go in and start cutting and doing things, because it just makes things worse. So there were times that I had to, you know, try to talk him in, because there were times he's just like, man, I just can't do that. I just want to give up. And I said, man, you got to hang in there. You got to do it. And so he went through a couple of those surgeries, had about 4 or 5 good years that he didn't have much pain, and he really enjoyed those 4 or 5 years that he had to do that. But then eventually kind of took his toll, eventually needed heart. And but like I said, they accumulated and did so much. Matter of fact, when the first time I went in and filled in for him in 1982, like I said, I had gone home and I was with my family back home. They had an award show, and the Statler Brothers won Vocal Group of the Year. And that award, Lou gave me that award.
Wow.
His vocal group. And I have that as
cool.
a prized possession of mine. The first award that I ever, it was his picture on it, but he gave it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. I'll cherish that.
I know you have a ton of great memories.
Mm-hmm.
Great. It was 22 years, 21 years, somewhere around there?
Well, I joined them in
82.
For 82, January 28th of 1982. And then I was there till October the 26th of 2002.
Gotcha.
So it was almost 21 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Great run by the Statler Brothers. Mm-hmm. And I know you all watching love the Statler Brothers. Mm-hmm. But since then, man, you've been doing some great music on your own, been doing a lot of solo stuff. I also know you've been doing a lot of work with some different country artists and coming together on some compilations and different things. But what's in the future for you? I mean, what do you got coming up? What are you working on?
Well, it's been 17 years since the Statler Brothers retired. And I say that and people just gasp like, oh my God, it has not been that long. And it has been. And I moved to Nashville 15 years ago this year. I thought, I was up in Virginia. I thought I'd be there the rest of my life. After the Statler Brothers retired, I was trying to work out of there, but it just wasn't like coming together. I said, had a long talk with God one day out on a tractor on my dream home up in Virginia, looking across the valley. And God said, I need you to move. You need to go. You can't stay here. I need you to go. And I argued with God. I don't want to do that. I want to stay here. And I know that's what you want, son, but you need to listen to me and you need to go. And so I did. I went back and told my wife, I said, I had talked to God on the tractor and what we talked about. And she said, oh, no, we can't sell this place. She didn't want to sell it, because it was just that nice. It was just a beautiful place. And I said, well, I'll put a big price on it. It probably won't bring it. And so I put this big price on. We put it out there, sold in 4 days. And so we were like packed up. And,
it's like, that's God saying go when something like that happens.
Packed up and had everything ready to go in the trucks and everything. And I just was out there and I was really having a tough time. I was tears in my eyes trying to pull away from there. And I said, I'm just going to go back, stand on that deck one more time and look across the valley. So I went back in the house. The house was empty, and I stood out there on the deck and I looked across the valley, and I felt this breeze blowing on my face, and I could hear the sun shining on me, and I could hear these kids off in the distance kind of playing and laughing, and I thought about my mom and all these things hitting me, and then this song, I Believe, came to me right there as I was standing on that deck, and it was like God said, you listened to me. You did what I asked you to do, and here's a gift. So he gave me that song, I Believe. And I Believe it's been that point of the arrow of my career that has kind of led me to this point over the last 15 years,
wow.
After coming here. And awesome. So I came there and I started recording, and I teamed up with, a couple record labels and country labels that kind of didn't really go anywhere, and these were things that I was trying to do and everything. But then here in the last few years, we were doing well because thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
Because people kind of figured I was out there, and all of a sudden I kind of get this following, and things kind of building these little fires all across the country, and then things kind of getting a little bit more as time goes on, and then eventually here the last 3 or 4 years. I teamed up with Bill Gaither, and we did a Hits and Hymns album record, which did very well in Cracker Barrel, and did a DVD on it, live TV offer that did really, really well. Then we did a classics album with country, kind of rock, pop stuff, songs that influenced me through my life, and that's done really well in Cracker Barrel. So then we wanted to do another project. This new project called God and Country, and it literally is a celebration of our the country that we live in, the sacrifices that have been made for us, the fact that this country was built on "In God We Trust." That's what it was built on, and it was kind of it was an emotional journey for me, realizing the sacrifices that have been made for us. There's a song on there called "In God We Trust." There's a song called "Meet Me at Arlington," which I wrote with my good friend Dave Clark, which happens to be my neighbor. "Meet Me at Arlington" has been a really powerful, powerful song. It's a song inspired by a Gold Star mother who had lost a son in Afghanistan, who was watching the news one day and saw this ridiculous man on there putting down our country, putting down this young man because he wanted to be a soldier, saying all these terrible things, and they asked her how she felt about it. And she said, "I wish you could meet me at Arlington." When she said that, Dave Clark and I heard what she said. We just wrote that song, and it's been a very, very powerful song. There's another song called "More Than a Name on a Wall," which is a tribute to our veterans, and was mostly inspired by a trip to Washington, D.C., to the Vietnam Memorial to see it for the first time, 60,000 names on one wall. Yeah. Hearing a mother crying out to God about her son, and realizing that these memorials are beautiful and they're great, but we can't say thank you. We can't build a beautiful enough memorial. We can't write, say, or sing songs that would be beautiful enough to say thank you for a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. And as I stood there, I saw a mother. Like I said, she came to the wall that day, and she kneeled down and had her little notes and had her flowers, and she found her son's name, and she traced her son's name on the wall, and she prayed to God about her son, and then talked to her son like he was there, like he was right there with her. And immediately my whole perspective went on the other side of that wall, kind of seeing her coming there from her son's perspective, that he was there that day, his spirit, along with so many others that I felt. I just felt they were there. And seeing her come in there to pay tribute to him. And I can't understand that kind of sacrifice. I never had to lose a son or a daughter, or a father or mother. I mean, to a war. I've just enjoyed the freedom of this country. Right. I've stood on stage and I get to say, I tried to join the Air Force one time, but I wasn't smart enough. So I'm not going to get into that.
You're the right size, though.
I don't know. I wanted to join the Air Force. It was like about a month. I tried to about a month before the Statler Brothers hired me, so I guess God had other plans. But I really wanted to serve my country because I wanted to. That's whatever God instills in. He instills in our soldiers, our men and women. I don't understand. It's like somebody steps up and says, "Hey, no, you don't have to go. I'm going to go for you."
Yeah.
I mean,
the ultimate form of sacrifice.
Right. Jesus did it on the cross.
Jesus did it for us. Yeah.
And our soldiers.
Yeah.
They do it for us.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And so
it's hard to wrap your mind around that.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because it doesn't come normal, especially in a self-centered world that we live in, where you're thinking about yourself, wanting to always, how can I get a leg up? How can I get above you? How can I do better than you? How can I put you down in a lot of ways? For someone it's a breath of fresh air. And I think that's I guess that's one of the great things about our faith, is that when you come along and say, man, there's a man that loved you so much that he gave his life for you so that you can have eternal life.
Yeah. He stepped up and said, no, you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm doing this.
That's
Give it to me. Give me everything.
Yeah.
It's that kind of sacrifice that makes this country great. Yeah. Because, as long as we're doing it for the right thing, the right reasons.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's been wars in the past that's been political. Things can get so political. But I think we pay the price for that too. But the men and women who put their lives on the line for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Politically, we might, do things wrong. But I think if you do, you're going to pay the price. And I think we have in the past. Yeah. And are still paying that price. But the men and women who serve this country, they do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. And we sing a song, Legacy 5 sings a song that Trace Adkins did. I think the title is Arlington, or I Made It to Arlington.
Yeah, that's a great song.
And we do that song just about every night. And I get the honor to sing it. It's a beautiful song. And,
you guys are great, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you, man.
Big fan.
And I every night when I sing that song, at the end of it, I just close my eyes and I'm just thankful that somebody did step up, and just heart full of gratitude for that.
Yeah.
And then another moment during the night, we sing another song that talks about the sacrifice that the Savior made for us, and just close my eyes, and even more so thankful that I get to enjoy a home in heaven someday because of that, which is awesome.
We call this God and country for a reason, because if ever our country needs God, we need Him now.
That's right.
With all the things, it's a little bit different. If you turn the TV on, all you see is just negative stuff. And it's so hard to watch. And man, I said, if we could just remember God's love and be more understanding, even though somebody's different than we are and might have a different outlook, if we could just listen to what they have to say with respect toward one another.
Yeah.
But now it's just that the people, like, whether you Democrat, Republican, when they come at each other, like,
it's an automatic fight just because we disagree.
It's just because you're one or the other.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
And it doesn't have to be that way. Mm-mm. No, we could agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. But discuss, we'd get more stuff out. Stop the name calling, man. Just stop the name calling. I can't stand it. I can't. Yeah. And, that's not the way God meant for it to be.
Yeah.
And, but I do think that, the people have been so downtrodden through the years, they get tired of the political realm, of everything. And they feel like, the government's against us and we need to do this. Who's to say that, greed, a lot of greed brought a lot of that on. I think greed is probably the main core of the core of all of that. Because if we don't stop and look at each other with respect and love and start to try to understand each other, to turn this thing around, it could be a long, hard road for us. But I do believe God, He will bless. He's blessed America over and over and over again. He's blessed us. And He will continue to bless us as long as we don't forget in God we trust.
That's right.
That's where our hope lies.
Yeah.
Not trying to force anything on anybody. We're a free country. You can decide who you want to be, what you want to believe, because of all those sacrifices that have been made for us. Mm-hmm. And so, if somebody's got a whole different idea than I do, I'm not going to put that person down. I'm going to say, this is what I believe. You can believe what you want to believe. That's fine. But let's don't fight about it. Let's don't, not in front of the cameras for whatever reason. Let's come together in love and understanding each other. Yeah. If we get back to that, I think we're going to be all right.
We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Hey, man, this is part of the program I'd like to do. It's called the Random 5. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and probably just short answers for most of them, and we'll be able to get to know Jimmy a little bit better here. So here we go, man. What's the most exotic place that you've been?
Exotic? Golly, Ned. I guess St. Martin's.
Okay.
Probably.
What's your all-time favorite movie?
My all-time favorite. Gosh, I wish you hadn't said all-time favorite, because I have a hard time. I got so many.
Right.
But I love Shenandoah Jimmy Stewart, the old movie Shenandoah.
Okay.
I love that movie.
What has been your worst wardrobe malfunction? Have you had one? Typically, I'll say typically for a singer or a person that's going out on stage, a pastor, whatever, it's if it's a guy, typically it's that they forgot to zip up their pants after they used the restroom or something like that, or they tripped, fell walking up the steps, something like that.
I didn't know about it until our show was over.
Yeah.
Of course, my wife had to come up and tell me. She couldn't get the message to me while I was on the show. But yeah, my pants were undone.
Yeah,
and it was a button fly jeans, and the buttons were really flashing in the light, And so
draw attention to it. Here we go. All right, I think I know the answer to this one. But would you rather live on a boat, in the mountain, or on an island?
I would rather live on a mountain.
Yeah, that's what I figured, because
that's where I lived before. Yeah. I had my dream home up on top of a mountain up there. I can go get on a boat and get on the ocean sometime, but can't always necessarily get on top of a mountain somewhere.
Yeah.
At the moment.
What did you want to be growing up?
Well, at first I wanted to be. I wanted to get into sports, and I thought I was good. I was a fast runner in school, but I went out for baseball, little league baseball, and in elementary school. And I remember I stayed for practice for about 2 weeks, and I didn't have any way to get home, so I had to stay after school, and then I had to walk about 2.5 miles back home. Back then, it wasn't as dangerous as it is today, so my mom and dad let me do it. So I had to walk back home after the practice, So I'm thinking I'm doing really, really good, So we get to the time when the coach calls us together and says, he says, well, back then, of course, you made the team or you didn't.
Yeah.
And so he said, there's a couple of you that didn't make it. And I said, man, I wonder who those two unlucky dudes are. Man, I was looking around, man. I said, I was looking, and he said, Billy Ledoux and Jimmy Fouch. And I'm like, what? I mean, I could not believe I didn't make that team after doing all that, and I figured. And so, man, on the way home, that was the longest walk I ever had. But then, right then, baseball was out for me. I can tell you right then, that was all I was on. I could be a baseball player. So I get into junior high school, and me and my buddy Curtis Kidd, we decided the shortest guys in school were going to go out for the basketball team.
Oh, here we go.
So we go out.
A couple point guards.
Yeah. Man, we were out there playing, man. We figured, man, we did pretty good, First year, we got cut. First day we got cut off of it.
And it takes long.
Next year, we go out for basketball again. We do it again.
Glutton for punishment.
So then we go out and we do the same thing, cut the first day. So then basketball was out. So I started running track, and I remember I didn't have tennis shoes. I couldn't afford to get any tennis shoes. I ran barefoot and ran track, and it worked pretty good until we got on some of those. Started getting into some of the schools that had the asphalt tracks, and I got blisters on my feet, and the coach finally got me some shoes, but they didn't really fit all that well, and so then it was so much work doing track. I just said, that's out. I'm not doing track. So
we've already marked out baseball player, professional basketball player, professional track star.
It's all gone by the wayside, but I thought I could make it. Well, so then I found chorus in high school, and I started going into chorus and singing and just really enjoying being there, and doing it. And my teacher really believed in me and gave me some opportunities. And I started, sometimes, you just got to have somebody believe in you. Somebody that says, hey,
That's right.
I think I could have been a good basketball player too, but, I
don't know, man. I don't know. But
I might be dunking by now.
But you found the thing, man, and you got there, and you've made a great career of it. And now here we are,
Yeah.
however many decades later,
Yeah.
and God's been good.
He has, and so many ways. I cannot count my blessings, and I'm just a very thankful person. I look back on it, I can't figure how it all happened.
Right.
I don't know, but like I said, I'm trying to write this book, and it's so many stories. We could sit here for a long, long time.
Yep.
Every story has so many details and things that you can go into. But hopefully, I get this book done in the next year or so.
Well, tell the folks where they can go catch up with you and see your tour schedule and get your music, and when that book's available, where they can get it.
Well, you go to jimmyfortune.com, and on my website, you can check it out there and see all my tour schedule, where we're going to be. We started hitting it pretty hard here after this week until Christmas. We're going to be out there on the road all over the country. And you can see our tour schedule, but you can also get all of our products on our website. Just get on there and check it all out, because we're definitely busy and happy to be busy. Thank you all, by the way, for all the support through the years, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for you and if it wasn't for those people out there, we wouldn't have any reason.
That's right.
Know?
That's right.
There are whole reasons why we do what we do.
Man, happy to have you. Glad you were able to be here. Guys, I hope you'll go to his website, check him out. I know he's on Facebook and all that too. You can catch up with him there. Go see him at a show whenever he's in your area, and get some of his music. Get that God and Country. I know that you'll love that. Guys, thanks so much for being a part of On the Couch with Fouch. Thank you for watching, and God bless you, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.